I will call the meeting to order for the third time. And first order of business of the minutes from last week. Is there any? Go ahead. Okay, hold on.
Will be notified. Put in the will be thing there. Drives me crazy every time. How about every effort will be made to notify Route 3 residents? That way that one person that doesn't.
Okay.
Sorry, doesn't answer the phone or see the letter or whatever. Doesn't go, wow, you said we will be.
Okay.
So every effort will be made to notify Route 3 residents. And then the only other thing I had was line 164. In the parentheses, Lincoln Falls within the 20-mile radius of the proposed cell tower. Now, I know that's a visual 20 miles, but the public's not going to, we're not 20 miles from Lancaster. How can we explain that a little bit better in the minutes?
Lincoln Falls within a 20-mile radius. Radius being a straight line point. Or portions of Lincoln.
Thank you. Portions of Lincoln. That would be better. Okay. Because people reading this are going, I know it's the visual radius, and I get that. And it's the very northernmost corner counts.
Right.
But people are going to go, what are they, dumb? It's not 20 miles from Lancaster.
They say that anyway.
Yeah, I know. I know.
All right.
Thank you. That was it.
All right.
Nice job on the minutes, Jane.
Anything from you?
No, just a comment. I mean, in town manager's report, the first item on it was a Route 3 water replacement, saying that Nate would notify all of it instead of being notified.
Right. She's saying she wants to just change that to say every effort will be made in
Yeah.
case one single one.
Right.
But
No problem.
doesn't.
Yeah.
All right. Motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the minutes
Second.
of the 3rd as amended.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go. And then we have non-public from June 3rd. And I will make a motion to approve those as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Then we have the 10th. They're very short, so.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 10th meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You have those to sign? Oh, good.
Yeah, she's on top of it. You.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is the signing of the closing documents for the bond for the Campus World.
Yes,
Is that
they should be in front of
Ready?
you.
oh
Yes, right.
big pile right here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we are still on track to receive funding later this week, once the bond documents are signed and they are delivered to the bank. I have spoken to Cindy Simmons and Jay Palomino as far as how essentially we just talked about how we're going to transfer the funds essentially. And so we are still on track to close on the 28th.
Excellent. It's coming right up.
It's next Friday.
Days,
Yes.
yeah.
So I will need some availability on times from you all, or times that you're not available next Friday. When do you leave? Okay, so maybe I can get the documents prior to and have you sign them prior to. Are you leaving this Thursday?
This Thursday.
Until
19th.
This Thursday is the 19th. We close on the 28th.
28th.
Yes.
Oh.
Will you be
Yes.
back by then?
This Thursday's the 20th.
Thursday, the 20th, we are going to get the funds. We are then going to close
On
on
the
the
28th,
land
right.
on the 28th.
Yep. And I should be around most of the day.
Other planning board meeting. Oh, wait a minute. I'm in
Friday.
August. Sorry, 28th.
Friday, 20th.
I'm leaving. I won't be here that whole day. Thursday, will you have anything to sign on Thursday?
I can contact Cindy tomorrow and see if we cannot get all the closing documents prior to have them signed, similar to what we did when we did the business park
Mhm.
sale.
Yeah,
If
I can be available anytime Thursday.
Thursday, okay. OJ not here. 28th. Thursday, 27th. Okay. I will
And I
find that
should
out.
Be around.
You should. Okay.
Well, depending on the weather, I might have to come up from the river. Of the kids that day, so it's fine.
All right, so related to the bond. First, we have a resolution with a series of authorizations that we need to vote on before we sign this resolution of the governing board. So I'll read through it once. And I'll make a motion for each of the things we have to vote on, which is 7 different items. So the undersigned, at least a majority of the issuer's Board of Selectmen and the treasurer of the issuer hereby certify that a meeting of the governing board was held with respect to the issuance of the bonds defined below. That notice of said meeting was afforded to said offices and the public in accordance with the provisions of RSA 91A as amended, and the applicable rules and bylaws of the issuer, if any. That at least a majority of the governing board were present throughout the said meeting, that the following votes were adopted at a meeting, all as being in the best interest of the issuer, and that the resolutions set forth below have not been repealed, amended, or rescinded as of the date hereof. So I will make a motion to authorize the issuance of $4 million general obligation bond number R1 federally taxable of the issuer, which was hereto authorized by the issuer's voters on March 12th, 2024, such bonds to be dated June 20th, 2024. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to sell the bonds to the purchaser on such terms and conditions are as set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto and made part hereof. And Exhibit A, if you want to look at it, basically says it's $4 million. The interest rate is 6.75%. The purchaser of the bond is Union Bank, and the bond number is R-1. I'll make that as a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor?
The term was how many years?
20.
20. Okay.
I'll make a motion to issue the bonds in substantially the form set forth in Exhibit B attached hereto and made a part hereof.
Second.
And that's a multi-page
Motion.
document. All those in favor? I'll make a motion that the bonds shall be general obligations of the issuer and issued on a federally taxable basis. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to authorize the execution of the bonds by at least a majority of the governing board and the treasurer, or the printing of facsimiles of such signatures on the bond, and to affix the issuer's seal. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to authorize the treasurer to deliver the bonds to the purchaser against the payment therefore. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to authorize at least a majority of the governing board and the treasurer to execute and deliver a signature and no litigation certificate with receipt in substantially the form presented to the undersigned and such other documents as may be necessary or appropriate to accomplish the sale and delivery of the bonds in accordance with the foregoing. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to authorize the issuer to serve as its own paying agent for the bonds. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Oh, Jay, can I ask a question?
sure.
I can hear Jack vote, but I can't hear Tammy. Is it not unanimous?
Sorry, I just turned it on. That was me.
She voted
Okay.
yes on all of those.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's sign this one. Three signatures.
7.
No, it's just the whole thing you have to sign.
Yep.
But all three of us need to sign it. And 3 copies.
Okay.
In the triplicate.
All right,
Tammy,
keep those together in that little clip. Those 3 in that clip. Three in that clip.
Thank you. You can move on. You don't have to wait for me.
All right. Moving on, the campus world discussion, I think we announced that that'd be started 6 o'clock.
Yes, I believe we did.
So we're gonna skip over that
plow through
until
everything
six
else, yeah.
o'clock. The next thing is the Northern New England Telephone Fairpoint abatement request.
Yes.
Now,
Now,
okay, what do you got for us?
that's the last thing in the pile right there. Our utility assessor, George Sansucci, made a recommendation. We did receive an abatement from Northern New England Telephone, AKA Fairpoint. Sansucci's recommendation is to deny that abatement based on the lack of supporting documents to support their reduction in value. I did calculate out the math. They are truly only asking for less than a $3,000 abatement on the property. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware they're not requesting an astronomical figure.
What's the difference in assessment?
Like it's 2,000.
$2,771 is what they're asking for an abatement.
No, that's the difference in the
value.
calculation. Yes,
Seriously.
yes.
But the lawyer wants us to deny.
It's not the lawyer, it's the utility assessor, and his recommendation is
Okay.
based on the lack of supporting document that they provided in their abatement application to justify the reduction, even if it is only $3,000 or less than
And
$3,000.
we know from history that when we you deny this, we will be going to, they will get lawyers and it'll be part of that whole thing again.
Potentially at some point,
Right.
yes. Yeah. That's why I wanted to identify what the figure is or what the difference in assessed value
Yeah, no,
was.
thank you
So
for
you
that.
can have a full picture of what you're denying.
Could we deny it? Could we deny it? And just indicate to them, please supply the supporting document.
In that letter, it does say that if they were to procure additional supportive information, that George or Sansucci and Associates would then revisit the abatement.
Okay. That's the
So,
way I'd like to say.
Is there a deadline on abatements?
yes, the town needs to render a decision on the application, on the abatement application by July 1, or it's considered denied.
And did Sansucci reach out to them for more documentation? Have they been notified that they're lacking in documentation to satisfy Sansucci?
I don't believe so.
Who's this letter to, the town, or is it to them?
It's to the town.
It's to the town from the utility assessor, Dan Susi.
Correct.
Should we send a CC to,
We could.
like Tammy said, I think we should try to.
No,
just-
I don't know. I want to look through that before.
All right, July 1st.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we will, I think, do we
When's
have
our
an
next meeting?
That's our next meeting, I believe, is on July 1st. It is.
So we'd have to meet before July 1.
I think you could render a
Is it
decision
on
that, I think you
before?
could render that decision on
On.
July 1 and have it still be accepted or technically legal.
Where did you get the $2,700 number from?
So if you look at in their abatement application, they have a calculation on what they think their assessed value should be. So it's the last page. It's like they put like a supplemental page with an explanation in it. And in that, they identify what they think the distribution lines are, what they think and I added all three of those together and then compared it to what we currently have on file right now. And that was the difference in the value.
That's the difference in the value.
Mhm.
All right, and it $10 per thousand.
We're talking about $300. Again, that's why I wanted to do the math.
you
And
know,
I would be inclined to grant the abatement and get rid of the assessors and avoid any litigation and just get it over with because it's not, history has proven to us that it's not worth it to fight over these piddly amounts.
it's such a
It's-
small
it's less
number.
than
It's such a
$200.
small number. Right. I
I mean,
agree.
if you put a 1 in front of that, okay, well then let's talk.
Mhm.
But it's not, we're gonna pay more to
For 1 hour
argue
of
for
attorney.
$300 than $300 is gonna be,
It's gonna-
exactly.
Why does an
Yeah.
attorney even have to get involved?
Because
Well,
that's
well,
what they do.
Well, because if we deny an abatement, then the only avenue they have to appeal that is to go to BTLA or.
And that's
Superior Court.
attorneys.
Well,
Yeah, and that's.
My suggestion would be to send a letter to them saying that we have not ruled on it until we get more supporting documentation, period. And
Well-
send a copy of Susie's letter saying, that we should deny, but we haven't taken that step. Again, because you don't know the next time, well, if you denied this one, I'll ask for 10,000 next time.
Well, I think
Well,
10,000 would warrant a different conversation than.
Right.
Right, and
Yeah.
we are not asking for any supporting documentation. It is Sansucci, the assessors, that want supporting
He
documentation.
works for us.
Correct.
Correct.
So we're not just saying that we send a letter to the utility to send more documentation. This has to go through Sansucci. And this is not a 10-day thing.
Honestly, if we send a letter, Sansucci's gonna get involved in
Reviewing.
reviewing whatever they write back.
Correct.
We're gonna spend more than $300 having him review.
Exactly.
$300. It's 200.
We don't have a specific contract with him.
No, we pay him on an hourly basis.
Right.
Basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Then.
Yeah. The $300 over the total value is, they're saying is $924,000.
Mhm. And our assessing
And-
card, I think.
And
is
we're saying
attached
it's
to
926,000.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
on a percentage basis, that's like rounding error. So, all right,
I'll make a motion. We grant the abatement as presented
Yeah, I'll second
or
that.
as
All right.
requested.
all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Now, there's a place to sign to deny. it.
Yes. And it should be in the same spot to approve it as well.
One side or the other, right? Could you just check off?
I think it says,
Granted,
yes.
revised, or denied. I'm
Mhm.
gonna check off
Granted.
granted. How many signatures tonight?
Yeah, you're losing your pen already?
Compliment to
Thank-
Citizens Bank.
Citizens Bank. Wow, that is messy, but it's half in blue, half in black. Oh, you, all right, thank you. All right. There's two other things here, formalities. One is notifying the DRA that we will not be using the PA 28 form in 2025, which I don't believe we ever use.
I don't know any town that still does,
Yeah.
but we are required to say that we're not sending them.
So, and then the other is the payment in lieu of taxes for Bay State Forest, Franconia Notch State Park, Second Presidential State Forest, and the White Mountain National Forest. Which we do this every year. All the acreages, assessed values, and tax maps, tax cards are attached to this. I can go over the values. The total assessed valuation for Bay State Forest is 302,200 at 134 acres. Franconia Notch State Park is 3,541 acres. Total assessed value 5,202,700. Second Presidential State Forest is 1,174 acres. Total assessed valuation 66,700. And the White Mountain National Forest is 74,185 acres. Total assessed valuation at 40,295,000. And I don't believe those have changed at all since the
Ever.
previous year. Yeah, there's been no. So, is there, I guess, a motion to accept the reimbursement to towns and cities in which federal and state forest land is situated? More commonly known as the payment in lieu of taxes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, do you want to move on to the town manager's report?
Sure.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, we discussed the Route 3 water main replacement and the schedule for construction to start this late summer, early fall. And at that time, we talked about any sort of disruption in service to any of the property owners that would be affected. And Nate said that there should be little to no disruption in service, that the new water line is going in kind of, that they won't flip the switch on the new water line until they make sure that the new water line is up and running. So he says if there is a disruption, it should be relatively small, maybe half hour throughout the day, but it won't be an extended period. But he said that he would absolutely make sure that all property owners affected are notified. So
Excellent.
I'm going to skip over this because that's kind of going to lead into the Campers World
That should be
discussion.
in-
So
yep.
yeah. I'm going to skip over that. The Wanigan Road emergency lane, this was also brought up at the last meeting and it has kind of fallen off the radar. So in your packets, you'll see I've identified all the properties in which I think that would essentially have an impact of the emergency lane designation. So there's about 7 properties, I think. 9 properties. There's only 4 owners though. One of the owners own multiple properties. So with these property owners identified, we plan to hold the public hearing on the emergency lane designation on July 15th at our July 15th meeting. So we'll get the abutters notices out, make sure everyone's aware, and that will be the scheduled date for that.
Perfect.
I did speak with Chad in regards to, are there any other potential areas in town? And at this point, he couldn't identify any. He said that obviously potentially in the future with future development that may change, but right now he couldn't identify anything that any certain area that he thought would benefit similar to the Wanigan Road. So is that how you say it? Wanigan Road?
Flanagan Road,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Karina,
Yes.
I thought you also discussed ladies' bathtub where Tammy brought it up.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Chief Morris thinks that we have the proper, that he doesn't have any concerns with being able to ticket or to monitor ladies' bath in a similar fashion based
Okay.
on,
So he can ticket cars, sorry, he can ticket cars at ladies' bathtub.
because
that
I
are
believe
not
we
in the
have an
town.
easement for the parking area. Is that correct?
No, we own the parking area.
Yeah, so because of that, he doesn't have
But
an
he
issue.
can ticket cars that are outside of town land, outside of the parking area on riverfront condos land, but he can't ticket them on Wanigan Road? I don't understand that.
I guess I don't.
Because you pull into Riverfront, you've been there, you pull in and to the right, and that's all Riverfront Condo Association Road. I don't know the name of the road. And then off of that, we own a parking lot. So Riverfront Condos calls to have those cars towed all the time because they can't be ticketed. Same thing. So maybe have another conversation with Chad, or I can give him a call, whatever works.
Okay.
Because I think that would be a lot easier. If we're gonna make it easier for the landing homeowners to ticket cars instead of having them towed, we should do the same thing for the riverfront condos people that have been in here a million times with the same issue.
Do you think the
More so.
riverfront condo people would prefer that they're towed versus ticketed? It's just a question. I don't know the answer to it. I'm just,
I think it'd be in our best interest to have the flexibility to do both.
To do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
just because you can ticket a car doesn't mean they can't tow it.
I will say that if that is the case, then we might not have a public hearing on July 15th because there are many more property owners that will be affected at riverfront condos and will
Right.
need to be notified.
I mean,
And
I'm fine with that. And I think that the landing would be okay with it because from my understanding is the bulk of the problem is in the winter with the cross-country trails. Is that
I
correct?
think it's a problem year round.
Is it a problem year round?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a problem
Yeah, it
this
is.
weekend.
Yeah, all
yeah.
the time.
So,
Well,
Four
still,
spaces.
I don't,
yeah, I mean, it's back
Yeah.
on the radar now. It won't
Yeah.
fall off. I guess I can, Chad's on, Chief Morris, sorry.
yeah, I know, I
I
get it.
know, it's hard. Is on vacation this week. So when he gets back, I can, talk to him about it, I guess, in more depth, and see if that's what he wants to do.
Even if it's our second meeting in July, whatever,
Yeah,
it's
I think that is our second meeting in July.
the first.
Well,
Is
the
that when this
15th is when it was scheduled.
Oh,
was
gotcha.
scheduled.
Yeah.
And how they have to be notified, how many days, 10 days in
They
advance?
have to be notified 10 days in advance of the meeting, correct?
So it might still be okay, even if he decides that's what he wants to do.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We might be the first meeting in August. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna
Right,
be
right,
kicked
right,
down
right,
the
right.
Either way.
road too far, but yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay, I will revisit that with him.
I was really thinking that he would have I wish I'd said something earlier because I just assumed. that-
Yeah, yeah,
would come
he's
up in
like,
his
you
radar.
know, like I said, we sat down and we tried to think of other areas in town and we did talk about Ladies Bathtub and he thought that what they have going on down there right now was sufficient for him. So, but
Well, I mean, it's working for them because it's the only recourse they have. But to give another option might be a good thing.
well, we would have to identify which portion of that road would be considered an emergency.
It's all
lane.
one. You come in and it goes to the left and the right, but it's all one road. I mean, it's not.
Would you do it to the left and the right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Would you make the emergency lane portion the
just
whole
probably
road?
just
Yeah,
to the
just, that's what I'm
right,
saying.
yeah.
So we'd have to identify where it
Yeah.
starts, where it ends, you know, that kind
Have
of
we
thing.
done that with Wanigan? Is it the whole length of Wanigan?
I did the whole length of Wanigan, yes.
In
Well,
case
I think
people park.
Anyone who's abuttering the Wanigan Road
Yeah,
access lane.
not that big
yes.
to begin with. Yeah. So,
Because it kind of just dead ends on
Sure.
either side.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I did everyone, and I even did people that were on the landing road that abutted the other side.
Sure.
Just to
Yep. I saw that.
make sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to Chief Morris again.
You skipped.
I skipped the Plan New Hampshire charrette program because I think we'll talk
Yep.
about that during Campers World. And then Shinar Junkyard case, we'll talk in non-public.
Non-public. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then year-to-date financials in your packets, you have year-to-date financials. All departments seem to be on track right around that high 40s, low 50s number. So nothing was really glaring to me in that report. So I do have one more thing that I didn't have. Oh, we did receive a request from Loon Mountain. They are already gearing up for Highland Games weekend. And they are respectfully requesting the use of the parking lots for the Kank Rec parking lot, the community center parking lot, except on Friday, and then the industrial park.
Mhm. The industrial park. Oh, right. And they can't do the airport anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Was
like-
it any problems with any of those issues?
No.
Places last year?
No.
I mean, the Kank Rec
no,
area?
no problem at all.
Okay.
They put their employees up there.
Yeah,
But that's employee
they have
parking.
signage
Oh,
and they,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
and yeah, there's been
Right.
no issues reported
Yeah,
that I'm
none.
aware of, right?
I'll make a motion that we approve those following those parking lots for Scottish Clan to use.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Anyway, I got my mailing, my Scottish Clan mailing. Join us.
And that's all I have for public.
All right. I didn't have anything on my list. Did you have anything?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I had a call from a constituent who happens to be in the audience, Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan. Want to tell the board what you called about?
Will you come to the microphone, please? So the people on Zoom can hear you?
You have to turn it on. Just push that little button in front. There you go. Have a seat in the comfy chair. There you go.
I sent my wife up or asked her to come up and talk to the town clerk about registering my golf cart. And she said there was no roads in Lincoln that you could ride a golf cart on. And I didn't really want that. I wanted a list of what I needed to do to get it registered. Because I called the state of New Hampshire and they told me to go to the town and they should be able to give you a list of what you need to make it legal.
Mhm.
But there's no roads in Lincoln I could ride it on. But any road in the state of New Hampshire under 35 miles an hour, you can ride it on because it comes under a low speed vehicle. I just needed a list of what I had to do to get it registered, but
We don't register OHRVs or boats, and that's what a golf cart would fall under. So
yeah, but no, it doesn't fall under that.
Mm-mm. There's registered ones in Woodstock,
you can register in Woodstock. Woodstock does register boats
Right,
and
but-
OHRVs.
but this is an EV, I
It's
think.
not
yeah.
an RV thing, no, it's coming, I can register it's coming under a low, so I can ride on the road. An RV that they register can't go out on Main Street.
An OHRV?
OHRV, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
They can't, and I want them.
okay. It was my understanding that we don't register those type of vehicles in town. We never have. So it's just like we don't do boats. just
Even
like
if
we
she
don't
didn't
do-
Is that,
register them.
is that
HCVs?
purview though? Do we just have that right to decide if we want to or not, or do we have to follow the state law?
I think we would have to, no, we would have to be registered to be able to do so. Like the
Oh,
town would
got
have
you.
to register itself
I
as
didn't
a,
want her to register it. I wanted a list of what I needed to get it to make it legal to be registered.
right, but if we don't do those types of registrations in this town, she might not have that information readily available, is what I'm saying.
Well, right,
Gotcha.
I understand that, but she shouldn't have said there's no streets that you can ride on in Lincoln. I mean, I don't understand that. And the second thing was, what's the sign up at where you go into Forest Ridge that says no motorized vehicles on that bike path that goes to Loon Mountain? That was a block grant, remember? You was on the
Mhm.
budget committee then.
That was supposed to be open for like
That, you can ride
snowmobiles
anything on
and,
that. That was
yeah,
alteration of something that you could ride any motor vehicle on that walkway bike path. We were on the,
I remember being on the budget committee for that. I don't remember what the,
it was a block grant, remember? And it come in underneath that alteration.
Alternative transportation route.
Yep, that's it, Paul.
yep, I thought.
I don't know
I was
anything
wondering
about
how
that.
come
It
that
was on-
sign was on there, because really, that shouldn't be on there.
I remember years ago, folks saying that they were supposed to be able to be allowed to take snowmobiles on that.
that was talked about, but I remember there was a lot of discussion on snowmobiles and I mean, again, I was on the budget committee and that wasn't a budget
Right,
committee
right.
purview,
Right.
but I don't think the board at the time or whoever allowed snowmobiles.
Well, the state, because you got the block grant, it come under whatever Paul just called it. So you really can't, if they want to ride on it with them four-wheeler, they could ride on it.
I would, I think both of those issues need more looking into. I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't-
want to ride on it. I just was wondering why it was posted like that.
I think it's
Because-
been posted like that since,
Well, who posted it though? I mean, how, if they don't know the rules, you don't know the rules, how do they know the rules?
well,
If
when
it
did
come
that
under a
sign go
block
up?
grant- What's that?
When did that sign go
Been there
up?
forever.
I didn't hear you.
When did that sign get put up?
I have no idea.
Yeah, like the 1980s?
I can tell you when.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, it went up when Taylor tried to ride his snowmobile up there, remember? Taylor Bowden was trying to ride his snowmobile up there and they stopped him and that was the reason why that sign was put there, but I think Joe's right. I think if you looked into it some more, you'd find that it's called an alternative transportation route and starts actually right down by where the town hall is, I believe, and goes all the way up to Loon Mountain and just that little piece of the village. But I think that the town accepted that money. And it's for both, for people to be able to walk on and for motorized vehicles. I'm not saying cars, but it's supposed to be like snow machines. And like ATVs, but where are you gonna go once you get there? I mean, so typically people wouldn't ride that on there.
Okay, do we know what year did we get this?
It was many moons ago, because I ain't been on the budget committee forever, so.
Like,
You might check with Taylor.
where would I go dig it? Where would I go dig
What
it?
year did you start
In
digging?
the 80s,
80s?
early 80s.
If we
No.
even still have that grant
Was it
documentation.
was it a federal block grant?
I believe it was Ice
Yeah.
Tea, the Ice Tea money.
Ice
that
Tea.
Yeah, you're right, OJ.
It's the Ice Tea money. I don't even
I don't
know.
even know what that
What was it?
means.
Ice Tea, and it was some ISTEA. It stood for something.
Yeah,
I have
'cause
no idea
I
what.
asked them right in that meeting when they got that money, that means you could ride a snow machine, everything on it, and they said, yes, you can.
Do we know do we know, and we don't know who put the sign up or who owns the sign, if it's Forest Ridge or if it was us or if it,
Paul, do you know, did the town put that sign up?
I
91, active
I would think it
1991,
would-
so it was 92 to
might
97.
check with Taylor, because Taylor was, he did a lot of research, and I think Mary did some research on it as well as when it was done and having the information on it. Check with Taylor. I think Taylor may remember that, may even have some information on it for you.
Right. I can
So
do a
as
little,
far as my
I can do a
golf
little
cart-
digging. Yeah.
If I get it registered and everything, I can ride on these roads just like I'm supposed to be able to.
I don't know motor vehicle law, so I can't say
I'm
yes or
just
no.
looking, state of New Hampshire does not allow golf carts on public roadways.
Right, but it comes under a low
The
speed
LVA,
vehicle instead
yeah.
of a golf cart.
An
You
LVA,
gotta have a windshield, you
yeah,
gotta have headlights, you
yeah.
gotta have mirrors, you gotta have directionals, you gotta have seat belts.
All right, the iced tea was the
Go, you check. with the s-
intermodal
you
service.
Check with the state on that.
Model
I called them, they
Modal.
told me to come to the
Good.
town and get a list of what I had to have.
surface
why I
They-
came
but
here.
The things, the items that you just.
transportation
I looked it up where she's looking it up
Rattled
right
off.
now.
Can you
efficiency
get a
act.
copy of that from the state?
Well, that's why I came here, because they told me to get the copy here.
Yeah,
Well,
I understand.
Yeah, and we'll look into it a little bit more too. And what I would do is I suggest maybe coming in on Wednesday when Kristen's here and she can call the state and she can find out exactly
Yeah,
what she needs to do.
I gotta work and stuff.
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
just do
he
it.
doesn't have to be here for that. Like, look, can we just
Yeah.
see if Kristen can at least make some calls, get some information?
You gotta
Right.
make sure that she's specifying, though, that.
I was
this
gonna
is
say, well,
changed.
we're gonna need to know the specifics of his vehicle to make sure it qualifies under that.
It's a
Or,
low,
or let's find out what a vehicle, what
needs.
qualifies a vehicle to be registered under that, and then
Okay.
just tell him, and either
What's it
his
called?
does or his doesn't.
a low speed vehicle, and then if
Which-
it's electric,
call it?
it comes under something.
HVA.
That's how all these guys are getting away with riding them little scooter things around, not like, what's the guy down there that rides that? The old fella lives.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
know who I mean?
They do up on,
I think he registers under that slow moving, but his is electric. Or there's initials. If you look on if you're Googling that right now, you can find that.
yeah, I just did. Let me look it again.
I did, because I did the same thing as you, Tammy. I did a golf cart. You know, I looked up, just Googled golf cart to see if it was allowed and it wasn't. So that's why I just,
Right.
But if
Right.
it's something,
You gotta-
Categorized under
You
something
gotta go
different.
into it more to figure it all out.
LSV. LSV laws.
Yeah.
Hang on, when this opens, we have such fast internet here. Hang on. I can tell you. LSV stands for low speed vehicle.
Yep.
So a low speed vehicle. It can travel at a maximum of 25 miles, but between 25 and 35 miles per hour at a maximum. Are registerable. License plate or tag in the state of New Hampshire. So,
Yeah, you gotta get into the state of New Hampshire and everything else, and it is
Yeah.
just looking at one, you know what I mean?
and
You
there is
gotta
a
go
difference
through-
between a LSV golf cart and a traditional golf cart.
Right, now, if you go to electric, it comes under 3 other initials.
we can dig
Uh,
in, no matter what, we'll dig in.
NEV.
I think into
Waste no
both of
more
these.
time, I'll just do my.
There's also an NEV, neighborhood electric vehicle, essentially a golf cart that has been modified, could travel at higher speeds. And those are registerable in the state of New Hampshire.
Neighborhood
Eh,
electric vehicle?
Neighborhood
Yeah.
electric vehicle, NEV,
But then you gotta go back, because there's certain states you can have them, certain states you can't.
right,
And I went through that in New Hampshire, you can have them, so,
yep.
well, in my eyes. you
New
can.
Hampshire, in New Hampshire, golf carts, LSV laws state that a neighborhood electric vehicles, NEVs, can be driven on state roads with a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour or lower.
Okay. Give us some
Yep.
time to look into
Are
that.
state roads
Well,
and town roads the
I'll
same?
see if I can get a
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
of somebody else, so I can get a list of what I gotta have, because I think I got everything but the tail. I don't wanna spend $600 putting taillights and directionals on it if I ain't gonna be able to
If
drive
you
it.
can't register it, right?
Right.
Either that or I'm just gonna
But
keep doing what I have been.
Anything do that is registerable in New Hampshire that we
I think I
don't
might have to
register,
take
and
the bill of sale
keep
thing
it at Twin.
to DMV.
Yep.
And they'll give me a VIN number,
Yep.
because I think you need a VIN
You do- Yeah,
number.
you need a
I didn't want to get in
verification.
that
form,
deep
right.
until I figured out if I could even do anything.
Well, even if we don't register it and it is registerable for roads in New Hampshire, you can do it at Twin. Like when we didn't register boats or boat trailers or
You don't
such.
do that, right?
You take it to go to Twin and get it done.
Right,
So-
but if somebody goes to North Woodstock and registers an OHIV, you can't ride that on the road. This is a whole
No,
different game.
Right, yeah.
Right, no,
Yeah.
they do have registered, it's a golf cart, it's an electric golf cart that is registered and on the road because we've worked on it. The hotel there across from Wayne's owns it. That's their,
Yeah.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
is his registered or does he just go?
oh no, it's got a plate on, needs inspection every year. Yep.
Joe, just a quick question. Did you check with the chief of police just to see if he's ever had any issues with other?
No,
Might be a good idea to just check with him, see if he's got anything in his files.
I get too many people involved. I won't remember what they tell me.
That's right.
I'll wait till they get the new police station. I always wanted to walk into an $8 million building I own.
You can drive you can drive it in the 4th of July parade.
I do that anyways.
I know
There
that.
you go.
We'll look into it for you, Joe.
We're looking to both
Thank you.
of those things. Thank you.
Let me know, because I got a golf cart I could,
Yeah, but
So-
you gotta have the windshield. I've got
Yep, I've got-
everything
yep.
except them tail lights and stuff, but
yeah,
when I bought this thing, I bought it brand new, so
sure.
I just had to add the mirrors and I added the seat belts. And I'm gonna tell you right now, when you buy a golf cart and you talk about seat belts, they're gonna tell you not to put them in it.
Yeah, but you'd recommend putting them in?
They
The state
don't,
requires
Oh, the state requires.
you gotta require it to ride it on a state
on a
road.
state road.
But
Oh,
anybody
interesting.
that sells golf carts and everything tells you no
Don't,
seat belts.
yeah, I
You're
mean,
safer without them than you are with them.
I've
Right.
did golf
Pretty
cart or
well.
two in my day, and
And
it's
there's
easy.
nothing there. It ain't like a ROPS cab. You're just getting
Right.
stuck in the thing. you
It's
know?
better to bail out on them things.
Yeah.
Than it is to be stuck in it.
All right, I
All
gotta
right.
go.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
See you
All right,
later.
back to the
Iced tea money?
the iced tea money. I found that on here. Iced TEA,
ISTEA.
ISTEA Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act of 1991. So it would have been in the early 90s that was done. And this is it was mostly done, emphasize intermodalism, the seamless linking of highway, rail, air, and marine transportation.
All right, well, there's another thing to
Yeah.
research and
Look,
see what the restrictions are whatever of the grant money. And I mean, even if there were restrictions, they may have only applied for 20
Well, I was
years.
gonna say, a lot of the times it's like a 30-year.
Yeah.
Federal
It's the
loan
10.
program like that.
So it's a 10-year
It's a
thing. So
10-year,
Then
yeah.
I guess we would have to make a decision of
whether we wanted
them
to
or not.
allow it or
Right.
not, or what
No.
kinds and
see what the grant said.
see
I
what the
mean, it
grant
would be
says.
different if it went up into, if it ended at OHRV trails, well then, well, duh. well,
Yeah, but
something
it
to look
doesn't.
at, But it doesn't.
It
But it
doesn't
doesn't, no,
go
right,
anywhere.
right.
Right.
It's just dead ends out there.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly.
Okay.
And wasn't part of that whole thing was also the designated bike paths on going up Route 3? Was all
N-
part of that as well?
No,
No,
no.
okay. Thought it was. And the path beside the school and like Lincoln Green, no, that. I thought it was all part of that same thing.
I don't know about the path beside Lincoln Green because that's a
Right, right.
separate sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
The paintings along Route 3 were not.
Not part of that.
No.
Okay, okay.
No,
Thank
I'm
you for-
pretty sure of that was a
I-
town
Decision.
decision to
Gotcha.
just paint the bike
Gotcha.
whatever things in the
Okay.
side lane. All right.
I'll do some digging, see
Well,
what I can find.
there was some interesting conversation that I know
Yeah.
nothing about.
All right, next interesting conversation.
Go ahead.
I had a conversation with a gentleman that was burnt out over, and Jane, you might know about this one. That was burnt out in the fire here. And they received a Spectrum bill. And, you know, they lost service after 5 days or whatever the date of the fire was. And they're being billed for the full month. And, you know, I don't think it's right. And I think the town manager or the chairman of the Board of Selectmen should call Spectrum and just say, look, these people are in dire need and you're sticking it to them, a multi-billion-dollar, million-dollar corporation, and you're fighting over a couple $100 a month. It's not fair to them. I mean, they lost everything. And this person, you know, scraping by to try to get money. And I just think it's a wrong business practice. And I think maybe a call from somebody at the higher ups, you, Karina, would.
I make a motion that we authorize Jack to make that phone call on behalf of the town.
I'd be happy to.
Have
My
a good
new,
time.
my new name is OJ Robertson.
Yeah, I would be happy to do it too, but
Be happy.
Go for it, yeah.
I mean,
I don't want to do it without, you
No.
know, Jane, you want to?
So I did meet with the individual. His service was from April 22nd through May 22nd, and the fire was on April 27th. So they were bilking him $99.91. So I met with him. He also provided the fire report and the police report to Spectrum. So they weren't going to come after him for the equipment that he doesn't have,
Oh, gotcha.
but they were not bending on that money. I have since, it's taken care of with the money that had been donated for them. And I thought this was a great cause to get this, so he shouldn't have to worry about it. And that's being taken care of through the fund.
But where somebody's end up paying it. And I just think it's wrong that they're charging
I agree.
$99 for something that obviously was not that individual's cause. And, you know, if the community hadn't been so forthright in raising funds, then what are they going to do? Take them to court? I mean, shame on Spectrum. And I'm going to make a call and tell them I want the money back with interest.
Absolutely. I would agree.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that. Good for you.
Absolutely.
Too.
Use that same tone of voice too. You sounded
Yeah.
forceful, but
That's
polite.
right. That's right. Very authoritative.
Just spit out my.
Choking
All right.
myself there.
Next, Governor Sununu signed 51 bills last Friday.
Ugh.
One of them had to do with able to get reimbursement for public records by towns. I'd like you to find a little bit more. I couldn't find the actual legislation, the RSA number. So to see if when people ask under Freedom of Information and they want 2,000 pages, you know, we could charge for time and materials.
Reimburse those man hours. Sometimes they're significant. I fill my water. Excuse me.
Did you have anything?
I did.
Okay.
And the last thing I had,
Yep.
the last thing I had, Tammy, you may want to weigh in on this one. An individual stopped me after Pedal for Purple because of all the cars there. And do you think it's feasible to get that parking lot striped?
What parking lot are we talking about?
Right.
At the wreck?
Absolutely. At the Kank.
Yeah, Kank
Sure.
Rec.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I saw the way some people were parked sideways, some people, you know, nose into, others different ways. And it wasn't the best use of the space there. We spent a lot of money to,
Yeah.
you know.
I've noticed that too. It's funny, in the winter when the locals are there, the ones that come all the time, parking's seamless and perfect and there's no issues. But then you have the games when they come like from out of town and stuff and they're like, oh, it's empty parking lot with no lines and they park in the strangest places. That I think about it, it makes sense for them then, but it doesn't because that's not how we do it. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Absolutely. And
Yeah, somebody brought it
Yeah.
to my attention and I observed it. And
I can follow up on that.
all right, thanks.
One thing
That's all I had.
I had was crosswalks. I know Nate and his guys did the crosswalks like on Pollard Road and such like that, but Main Street and stuff. Why the state I know does not do the crosswalks at the lights and stuff. We have to do them because they used to be green. And he's not doing the green anymore. He's doing the white stripes, so they're more visible,
Mhm.
but they're not done. And I've noticed on Main Street, people not stopping, even when the things are flashing, because there's no crosswalk there. They don't see it. It's gone.
I do believe that they ran out of paint and they had to
Oh,
order more
okay.
paint from Sherwin-Williams.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
took the call the other day to say the paint was in. So I think it was
Okay.
just that they
That,
ran
the
out,
paint.
they
Okay,
ran out of paint and they had to order
Perfect.
more and they'll get it
that's
back.
reasonable. Yep. Thank you.
All right. We still got a little bit of time. Is there any public input not related to Campus World? If not, then let's take a 2-minute break and we'll reconvene for the public input session on Campus World.
ago. No, I didn't. I had more than a day and a half. Second. I like how the boys give me the whole table. They share one. Hey, Karina, I need to point out that I was at a town hall, a neighboring town, older building that they have their town hall in. And the bathrooms were awesome. They had these nice low flow toilets that were like water conserving, and they had faucets that you just put your hands on and it came on, and automatic soap and automatic towels and nice new like washable stall separators, not like the ugly painted gross ones that we have in there now. Yeah, it was really nice. And their toilet paper holders weren't rusty. Yeah, it was awesome.
That when
Their sink
we
wasn't falling off the wall.
decide what are going to do with downstairs and we make the renovations downstairs, that we would do a kind of an overhaul on the bathrooms up here as well.
Makes sense.
Right, at the same time.
Yeah. And then we'll have a sink that's not falling off the wall.
Right.
Fantastic.
Sink that's not falling. off the
Cool.
wall and
Okay.
New toilets.
Yay. And non-asbestos flooring, because that would be cool.
When I started on the budget committee,
Oh, come on. That was before I was born. Come on.
we met in what was an open garage, unheated,
Did you
the
walk
winter,
uphill both ways to get
both
here?
ways to get there. And when it got down like to below like 45, we would stop the meeting, run the portable heater,
Oh, those salamander
Salamander
heaters. Yep,
heater.
yep.
all right, and breathe in those fumes
Sure.
for like 10 or 15 minutes to get it back to like 60 degrees.
Yeah.
We'd shut them off and resume the meeting. And there was one bathroom in the whole building that made these things look like palatial bathrooms.
They
Just-
both need to be addressed.
Spoken from the man that still has his CB jacket from when he was in high school and wears it.
I wore that to the budget committee meeting.
Love it. Are we? No, I think we're paused, aren't we? I don't know. That's awesome.
Earl Manica, Les Sargent, Eddie Clark,
Wow.
Bruce Engler, Duncan Riley,
Duncan Riley, wow.
Kay Roberts was the
Minute taker, yeah.
No, no, no,
secretary,
the-
no.
town.
Oh, that's right too. She was the administrator at the time, yeah. Wow.
Who else was on that committee?
And when was that? 1890 what?
1987.
87. I was home with babies or a baby at the time. Oh, goodness. That was fun. Yeah. That's awesome. Dana, are we still recording? Oh, you'll be entertained then when you're doing the minutes. Uh, I'll take those. Thank you. Yes.
All right, resume the meeting. So on the agenda is further discussion on the Campers World property. At our last meeting, we had three professionals present to the board. And I just thought it'd be good to, number one, hear input from the public as to what they heard that was either really good, really bad, something that we should definitely do, definitely not do. What actions should we take at this point? I'd like to hear from the public, and then I'd like the board to discuss their thoughts. So I guess first, is there anyone from the public who wants to weigh in on like the next steps going forward, or anything that stuck out to them from the last meeting? Go ahead, Tammy. Please.
You can sit in the comfy chair. Just push the button
Yeah,
on the
the bu-
microphone and turn it on.
There you
Awesome,
go.
Thanks.
Yeah, I missed the meeting because my daughter took priority. She had a school function that night. But I did just listen to it today, and it was quite interesting, the meeting, from what I could gather from what I could hear today. But I understand the development part and the higher homes to bring in more revenue for the town in a faster pace. But I just hope the town does not forget the fact that you're not going to be making more land here. And our future generation is going to need homes. So if a lot of that gets developed for, I don't know if you're going to go ahead with second and third homes, or if it's only going to be the primary home and that's it. I mean, that part I kind of lost because I was tearing up a floor today. But I know there was some saying as to it's good to intermingle both mixes, the low income versus the higher income homes. And to have it, the way I took it was to have it as primary homes, not the secondary and third homes. But we really do. I know I heard that you cannot block only Lincoln residents to be living here and nobody else. I got that from the recording, but we really need to think of housing people for this area that want to stay. So I'm kind of on the fence as far as a lot of the high income houses going there for other people that might be here just to ski, you know. So I just hope you guys just please keep in the context of we need to help our location for people like my stepdaughter, you know, with two children that want to live here. You know, they want to live here, they want to go to school here, but there's no way she can compete with what's probably going to go up there. Once I'm dead and gone, the girls can fight over my place and do whatever. But until then, they'd like to live here before then. And I'm hoping I'm not going that soon. So I just hope, you know, you keep that into mind. In recreation, it'd be so nice to keep, I believe I heard the
you were saying something about a storage tank up there, that at this time, only so many acres can be developed, like 100, and I don't have the number right offhand, can be developed at this time. It would be nice to preserve some of that other land for future use, because none of us know what's going to happen 10 years down the road. You know, and if you let it go all now, you can't get it back. You can't get it back. That's the biggest thing that scares me. If it's gone for development, or a good chunk of it, it's lost. It is lost. And I would really love to see Lincoln have some kids in this town again, playing and having fun, whether it be sunbathing at the river or hiking. I used to take my horses all the way up behind your motel, up to the Flume. Beautiful trails up there. You know, keep some nature for us. You know, I understand the money part of it, but this town has grown so bad. It's not Lincoln anymore. It is a mini city. It's not a hometown. People that moved up here for its beauty, a lot of people are saying it's destroyed now. They don't want to live here anymore. They want to sell. And I was looking at a lot of condos that are for sale, and some of those people are the ones that told me they don't want to live here anymore. So we got to think a little bit on, I mean, it's my opinion, it's already an overkill stage. And I just hope you guys just start maintaining some of the beauty that we do have, because I, for one, absolutely love this area. 10 minutes any direction, I'm in God's country, walking in the woods. And unfortunately, now the town's going to own at the end of the month Campers World. I don't know if I'll be able to walk in the woods up there anymore, you know? So that's not here or there about me. It's for the community. The community is most important. And I understand the tax burden that's going to be on a lot of people. But from what I understood, if I understood it correctly, from the YouTube station, is the mix will help balance for the lower residents versus the higher grade residents. So I just please, you know, just let's think of the community as it will never go back to what it was, but let's maintain some of its natural appearance. Give people the opportunity to go walking in the woods that know the woods, more so than the trails that are so root bound now and so walked over that you can't really enjoy them. And you got to pass 20 people just to go 5 feet. You know, let's keep some nature here. I know money talks more than anything, but, you know, have some heart for our town again. That's all I ask. Have some heart for our town and for people that want to live here. And it doesn't have to be my stepdaughter, just people that want to have the beauty as I do and have enjoyed my whole entire life, because I am a native. It's destroyed. It's destroyed. And if it wasn't for decorating my horses up to look like a Christmas tree at night to ride the streets, I'd have horses again, but I won't do that to them, because there's nowhere to enjoy now. Safely enjoy, I should say. So I just ask, please think of the town of Lincoln, not just the people with the money that want to ski at Loon. And God forbid, if the world turns around, you guys don't have the ski industry. You got to think of that end too, because it can happen if we don't get the snow. And water is a big concern of mine right now also, because if all those get developed, I mean, I think it was Karina that was saying on there, on these houses that are going to sell for like 3 million or whatever, they're going to have 4 bathrooms, 6 bedrooms and all this. I'm thinking, ka-ching, 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 water tap fees and more toll on our system. So let's just please, whatever you guys decide to do, look at the whole picture on how it's going to affect our future, not just now. Because if we do get to the point you guys are forced with that sewer and water, it's not going to be pretty for anybody. So that's all I'm asking. Okay. And I apologize for not being here, but like I say, my daughter will always come first and I cannot dump on her for a meeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want this shut off now?
Sure, please. Wayne or Paul, you're the only other two here. Is there any input, suggestion? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, OJ, as a taxpayer, I'm in favor of what was proposed at the town meeting. I think that the town should look to sell this to a developer with having deed restrictions that allow different types of housing. I can tell you that at my age, at 68, I'm not looking to increase my taxes a lot by having the town shoulder the burden of increased taxes to support this property. However, if the town can find a developer with and include deed restrictions that allow some of the things that were talked about at the town meeting night, then I'm all in favor of that. I mean, we have, you just went through the taxes for the White Mountain National Forest, their payment in lieu of taxes. I mean, there's a lot. Lincoln is, and I forget the percentage rate, but it is usually most of the land is in White Mountain National Forest. Lincoln proper is not very big. I mean, we gave Jean's Playhouse away, the land to Jean's Playhouse. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't want to see a whole, I would hate to see a bunch of taxes being levied on local citizens that have been here for all their lives and really want to stay here. And, you know, I would hate to see them have to sell because they can't afford to be here because of, you know, higher taxes, because of people that can afford higher taxes. So that to me is a big concern. And I think doing what you talked about at the town meeting night would help that. So I'm all in favor of doing what you proposed that night. And I think if you're going to change that in some way, then I think that we should go back to town meeting and see if people are in favor of that, because what you proposed is what people voted on. So any change in that, to me, would only be appropriate that the taxpayers who voted that night get a chance to weigh in on it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tammy.
To the video on the prior meeting, I didn't quite understand. Is the town looking for grants and stuff to keep the bridge and maintain all of that, or are they looking for a developer to take care of that? Like I said, I've worked. It's either or.
Neither.
Neither.
The purpose of that meeting was just for all of us. I'm not saying the three of us,
Right.
but for the whole town to learn what programs, grants, funding, rental programs are available.
Right.
So it was just a learning.
Right. And
thing.
I got that. I was just wondering, as a board, how are you feeling about that? Do you want to possibly keep the bridge and deal with the water and the utilities going over there, or is it more beneficial for the town to let a developer do it?
I think that's what we're having
Yeah,
a conversation here
that's
tonight.
Right. I'm just trying to feel you guys.
We haven't made that. That's what we'll discuss next, after the public's done speaking.
Yeah, we
that's
wanted
gonna
to
be our
hear, we wanted to
discussion.
hear from people
Right.
before we,
Right.
So you'll know in a few minutes.
you,
Okay.
and I know, I'm not sure we'll all agree either, so I don't know. I agree.
Well, no. It's and I don't have to agree with you guys. Just my opinion.
No, I meant we.
We might not all agree.
Right. But given all the damage that happened up Loon Mountain this winter, I was just kind of wondering, that was a lot for the town to do maintenance on. I would say pretty good. So I'm just thinking of instance like that. Should you take over the roads and everything up there at Campus World, that's going to be a constant burden if it's slope side. I mean, you got a good slope up there. So I was just concerned as to that. you know, if you're taking that into consideration, also, if you do take on the roads, that will be up to the town to always constantly maintain if there's washouts or what have you. You know, the frost up and down, the roads need repairing. I mean, that's pretty expensive. So I'm just, like I said, I wasn't here, so it's not fair for me to ask a lot of questions right now. I was just hoping you could help clarify, you know, what your stance is at this time. But like Tammy says, if I
Yeah.
just
We're going to be talking about
wait a few
that.
minutes, we'll know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Want me to start?
Sure, go ahead, Jack.
Uh,
Thanks for offering.
Certainly, Tammy, you bring some very good points there. And my way of thinking, and I think we've spoken about this, is to put some caveats on the land, put some restrictions on the land, and then sell it to a developer. We conservatively, myself and a couple contractors, guesstimated between 13 and $18 million to put a new bridge in, to put a water system in, and to put a road in. Like Paul said, that tax rate should not, that tax burden should not fall on you, me, or other taxpayers in the town of Lincoln. A developer coming in, and we had Ahead here, and we had Andrew Set from the state talking about grants and things like that. You said that we couldn't give only Lincoln residents, but we could give a preference to Lincoln residents if we didn't use HUD funds. Again, you know, you can't go astray of fair housing law. You have to fall within those guidelines. But you could say Lincoln residents who live or work here will get a preference. Lincoln residents who are displaced due to natural disaster would get a placement. I mean, there's a number of different criteria that you could put in there. So that's definitely one thing. If you do put it into the hands of a developer, you can put restrictions on what you want to see. You want to maintain a certain percentage of the land for recreation. We don't want to interfere with Corridor 11, obviously the snowmobile trail up there. It'd be nice to have some land available for hiking up there. And we know that some of the land that's up high is non-buildable. So a developer's not going to spend that much money, put some hiking trails up there. You know, there's different ways that I think that everybody can be satisfied here. Is everybody ever going to be satisfied? Never. But you can do your best to try to do that. And having been in the housing profession business, I think it's best that we turn it over to a developer who's got a track record, who's going to do what we, the town, want, not just the three of us, but we, the town. Because again, for us now, today, the fact we signed this bond issue tonight, $4 million, that's costing the taxpayer $100,000 in interest already. Once this gets passed on the 27th or the 28th or whatever the date may be. So, you know, again, without putting a burden on the taxpayers of the town of Lincoln, I think through the partnership with a private developer, we can get what we want. And it has to be a partnership, somebody that's got a track record. We heard Ahead, Harrison spoke and said, I can do the number of units that you want. He said, we haven't gone into a project of that size, but we can do it. We did receive a proposal, as OJ alluded to, at town meeting, and the developer said, I'll put the first 100 units, I'll build affordable 100 units in there. So again, there's a commitment. Is it in writing to a degree, a contract sign? No, but because we have to go out publicly, put an RFQ together or an RFP together, and, you know, get qualified bidders to come in and again, get what we, the town, want. Andrew Dorset said, if you permit 100 units, if you get 100 units permitted, the state will give us $10,000 per unit. There's $1 million to do what we, the town, want to do with $1 million. We could give Karina a raise or something like that if we wanted to. But again, we're getting $1 million if we do this. Time is running out. September is the deadline for this. So we have to make a decision here the way we're going to go forward with this. But I mean, I think I've espoused my view from day one with my background in dealing with housing and dealing with setting up nonprofits. I'm still involved in, I don't know, 2 or 3 different nonprofits, the treasurer of one that makes loans and grants to nonprofits. So, that's the way I would like to see it go, and that's the way I'll vote.
That would be great. The decision we haven't made.
We haven't made that decision,
Hold
but
on.
that was part of the. Oh, that was,
Hey, we haven't made that decision yet. Sorry, I forgot my microphone.
if the town is going to keep some land up there, that was part of the original proposal that we discussed. And I haven't heard anyone say no to that. So I'll tell you what stood out at the meeting to me. Probably the biggest thing was when my eyes popped out, the project that Ahead is doing over in Woodstock, the units that they're building, just non-luxury, average workforce housing type units are, what was the price? 200, I'm sorry, 379, what was it?
300 and something.
$379,000 per unit.
Right,
Okay. That's not a developer. That's a nonprofit
right.
building it. Water was on site or at the site, sewer was at the site, and you didn't need a bridge to get there. Okay, so let's say we take the path of the town's going to build all the units up there, no developers, we're going to build what we want. We're going to start with $379,000 for a basic couple of bedroom unit, and we're going to add in a bridge and then water and sewer over the bridge, and then roads to reach, even if it's the first piece of land we get to that we're going to start. I mean, it's not going to be affordable. No, I'm just saying that the people who want no developer involved in this and no high-end houses involved in this, I'm saying that what those people are going to get if we go down that route is a 400 and something $1,000 2-bedroom basic condo that we're going to call workforce housing. How affordable is that? What kind of workforce is going to take a $400,000 2-bedroom condo? I'm not thinking that's going to. I really think that the town is going to fall flat on their face if we don't partner with a developer. And we heard from I forget which of the gentlemen said this, but that they said that the town is going to need to partner with a developer. That no town, no project that they've seen has been just a town-only project that supports itself, unless it's a small thing like Ahead building 20, 30 units. Okay. But a bigger project, you need to have the higher end, higher priced homes to balance it out so that they can afford to put in a bridge, so that they can afford to run a mile, 2 miles of roadway, water and sewer services through a highly topographical piece of property. And they also, and I forget again which one said it, that typically you would go with a single developer for something like this, because if we had one developer working over here and one over here and one over there, who's going to pay for the bridge? How are they going to divide the bridge up? Is it per unit? Is it per mile? Is it a percentage of the sales price? I just see us getting into a real messy situation with who's going to pay for the bridge. And by bridge, I also mean the water crossing, the sewer crossing, and then the roads. I mean, does the first developer only pay for the first quarter mile of the road and then, let the rest of the people figure out the rest? Or do you divide the whole road by the whole number of units up there and they all pay for it? I just really think it's going to be a difficult process to get multiple developers. With that being said, I think if the town retains a portion of the land through the deed transfer, we maintain the right to develop that. to the road, water and sewer that the chosen developer puts in. Then we can hand that over to a head and say, here's a piece of land and there's water and sewer and a paved road to that site. Develop it. Okay. And if we did that and we got ahead to do it and they built the same thing they built over there, we're still talking $380,000 per unit. Anyway,
You talk in the microphone, Tammy?
yeah,
Please.
she believes it was the guy from Conway that said that
Right.
of the two here. Yes. I think that the other things that I heard that are significant is, and again, Jack mentioned this, that $10,000 per unit. It seems like that's probably the most achievable grant that I heard amongst the all the acronyms that they were throwing out. That seemed to be the one that would fit what we're doing. That if we built, and again, I didn't mean we, but if we signed a deed to a developer and had them build 100 units. Now, that grant was again, they were talking very specific about 60% of the medium income for rentals and 80% for single home purchases. If let's say 100 of the units met those, that's $1 million that the town gets used. And I mean, I'm thinking of using that
Purchase. price.
towards that land to participate in the building of a town spec road or crossing the river with water, sewer and a bridge or whatever aspect, but investing that back in what we're making it on. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of that grant, I guess, in my mind, is to encourage that type of development. And if we can put $1 million into the infrastructure, that would lower the price again at no cost to the town. We're just using grant money. The other second thing that I thought is most important to this town that we heard over here, and we actually asked more questions afterwards to one of the guys, but was the Plan New Hampshire grant, and I saw that you put more information in here. I haven't read through that whole thing, but to me, with that grant, and the town would participate in. Karina, you calculated that out to be 6,500 would be our share.
Correct.
That Plan New Hampshire would come in with a planning team for a 2-day event, I guess you'd call it, and they would be looking at the property, meeting with citizens, meeting with business owners, meeting with the administration, and would then go and develop a somewhat of a master plan for the property. They call it a charrette, a kind of an overview. I don't know if anyone has done such a major project like this. Usually they look at a downtown and say, how do we make this more walkable? Or they look at a rundown school or set of buildings that they're going to tear down, and what can we do or renovate? What can we do to renovate it or tear down and rebuild? They look at smaller focused things. We're saying 321 acres. I'm not sure what the exact result will be, but they will come in with ideas based on the property and the input that they receive as to maybe this would work, and put aside, single family lots here and condos here and apartment rentals here and recreation, free space, open space here.
They look at specific needs of the community.
Needs of the community and how they would fit into the topography of the land. For $6,500 to get those professionals to come in and work with us to do that, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Money well spent.
Yeah.
They say that depending on the project, you will receive between $25,000 and $80,000 worth of consulting services.
I think it would be foolish not to do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that that further public input with professional architects, professional
Mhm.
planners, these are professional people who come in, people who do this in other communities, they go around to different communities and they're invested themselves into helping other communities make the towns better. I mean, to have them come in here for $6,500, I think is a pretty cool
Yeah,
deal.
I think we should
So
jump on that.
those are the two things that stood out to me, was that Plan New Hampshire grant and that $10,000 per unit grant. And again, that's not going to meet even all of our whatever guided housing, because we might choose to do something that doesn't fit like the single family lots. Again, if we sell them at a bargain rate, it still might not meets 80% of median income. And they even said it ourselves, like, if you're looking for teachers and police officers and, some of these, managers at the local businesses, they might be above that 80%, because median means half of the people earn more and half earn less. If they're at 80% of that, then they're below that median income. And I know a lot of the teachers and police officers aren't, because we pay them. So that's my takeaway. I'll let you.
My big thing is that the last thing we need in this town is more second homes. That's the last thing we need. We need housing for locals. You're right. He said to go in and build a house on a lot that has water, sewer, whatever, 386, whatever it was. $386 a foot. So it was like 386,000 for whatever. You can buy a really attractive, decent modular home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath for about 150,000 delivered. You just have to do the dirt work to get it set up. That is an affordable option. If you're selling the land at an acre of land or half an acre land or whatever at an affordable price, people can afford to put a decent modular home to start a family, to have a family for 200,000 or less, depending on the purchase price of the land. That's not unaffordable. That is affordable. I don't agree at all with letting undeed restricted high-end properties be built up there for second homes to have more Airbnbs in town at all. None whatsoever for any reason. There was talk about, tax rate and taxes going up and tax this and tax that. We live in the lowest, our town has the lowest taxes in the entire state of New Hampshire for any town that provides water and sewer, and we don't charge for it. And laugh all you want. That is true. Look it up. I have it. And I think it was mentioned originally by you. And then I fact checked that, and it is true. So people, when they say, you're going to have to pay for this land and we can't afford to live here, our taxes are going to go up. Anywhere you go in the entire state, the taxes are going to be more. So if you can't afford to live here, you can't afford to live anywhere in the state. Unless you go somewhere that doesn't have water and sewer, and then you got to pay for septic and well and the whole bit. And it's cheaper to live somewhere with water and sewer. A bond payment. There was talk about a bond payment. That hotel over there going in. There's another one scheduled to go in up here, and there's 17 houses getting. That's probably a little bit of an exaggeration. There's got to be at least 8 or 10 houses under construction across the river.
Oh, more than that.
At least.
I think 18 is
18 houses. Okay, so there are 18. That wasn't an exaggeration.
No, I think there's probably.
So there's our
30
bond payment.
houses. Yeah, I was gonna say 30 is my guess. Yeah.
Perfect. So all those houses are going to be on the tax roll card next year
Or
when
within
this
the next 2 years.
bond payment is due, right about the time this bond payment comes due. And there's the bond payment. Taxes aren't going to go up. Theoretically, once those hit the tax roll, we're not paying more in taxes to hang on to this land to do what's right for our town. You're not going to cause more tax money to do the right thing. He sat here and said, if we did want to do a project and had to put in a bridge, we'd figure out how to put in a bridge. Take a few years. So what? So what if it takes 5 years for a head to come in and build a bridge and water and sewer and a couple of roads and put in some housing that folks can actually afford to live in? So what? So what if it takes us the next 4 or 5 years to apply for grants enough to do what needs to be done with this land so that we can sell half-acre lots for a super affordable price for folks to come in and put in a $150,000 modular home, double wide, whatever you want to call it, and have a place to live and raise a family. So what? It's not costing us anymore or that much more, if anymore. With the offset of taxes, with the new houses being built, it's going to pay the bond payment. I don't see the huge rush to rush right out there and sell this land that we will never have the opportunity to get again, ever, in anybody's lifetime, just so we can pay this bond off. It makes zero sense to me at all. None. Oh, the
you
only,
want-
her question was, is somebody rushing? In my opinion, the only two rushing are these two gentlemen sitting beside me. But that's my opinion. And we all know what those are worth.
Tammy, I
So-
don't disagree
well-
with some of the stuff you're saying, but I think it's more than just paying off this bond, this $4 million. We're talking about investing an additional 20 million to have.
We don't have to invest anything. If a head comes in, if we get some grants through I'm sorry, what was this gentleman's name?
Andrew Dorsey. yeah.
Andrews was talking about, there's tons of grants that are coming up, expiring in September, but then there's a whole nother round coming in.
Right, but
And
I
we said
also
we've been
think
better.
a head's not gonna want 300 acres. They're not
No,
gonna develop
God,
300
no.
acres.
And I don't
Right.
think we should ever get rid of all 300 acres, even
Correct.
if it is to a head or private homes or whatever.
Sure.
We should keep 100 or 2 of those acres forever. If we ever need another water tank up on Route 3, we own the land. We can put it wherever the heck we want. We don't have to go through 3 years of dealing with the Forest Service and Loon Mountain and the private developer and everybody else to put in a water tank.
But that's also an additional $4 million. That's what our water tank's gonna cost us, is $4 million.
We probably won't need it in my lifetime. We may never need it.
Right.
If we do, we have the land there and we have the height to put it in.
Right.
Keep that. It can go, that could be part of the snowmobile trail. You can snowmobile right around it. Who cares? It could be part of the hiking trail. Go take pictures near the water tank. And we may never need one. So what? This town will never have another couple hundred acres ever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with
Never.
that, but I think we can't just focus on paying off this bond payment that we have, because that's
No,
not
and that's
reality.
not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, let's not do it tomorrow. If it takes us 3, 4, 5 years to get that done and figure out the best thing for the town, which in my opinion is not a private developer right now, and building more second homes that are going to be filled with Airbnbs, even if it's only a portion of them. And even if it's only a portion of the land, we need neighborhoods. We need more neighborhoods in Lincoln, places where you can go trick or treating and it's not every 4th house that has a light on. That's what we need. We have 10 kids registered, 10 kindergartners registered at Linwood next year. 10. That's it. Our graduating class this year was 12. We had 1 child birthed in Lincoln last year. 1. We need homes for kids. We need neighborhoods. We do not need another second home in this town at all. We don't. Especially on land that we now own. Well, in 10 days we'll own, technically, that was a gift. I mean, that was a huge gift from the Clark family. And that's the last thing we need to do, is get rid of it to build more second homes somewhere. Even if they're going to put in a few lower quality, cheaper houses for us poor Lincoln folk, it's not the right thing to do. It just isn't. I am 1,000% against that. We need to sit back, take a little bit of time and do the right thing, and not quickly rush out to sell this to a developer to pay off that land fast, even if it takes us a few years.
If I may comment.
Go ahead.
First of all, we could put in a deed restriction, which I would strongly suggest that we do, as far as having no short-term rental. So it wouldn't be something where we're going to see Airbnbs or what have you.
On every parcel?
Excuse me, I'm speaking. The
Okay,
other thing
go on,
is
not
too, that, people that do development offset their cost. I'll have a moderate, low income here for workforce, and I'll have a high income up here that offset the cost of this. $380,000. Yeah, that's a lot of money. We're building homes for veterans over in Woodstock now. And a lot of it obviously is donated labor and what have you. And they're 1 and 2 bedroom units. And believe me, the price is under $200,000 per, if a lot less than that even. But because of the fact that so much time is donated, labor is donated, can't come and say, here's an actual number. But, we don't belong in the business of housing. We do not. You don't want to be in that business, folks, believe me, no matter what others may say. Yes, it's not going to be an overnight project. Look at South Peak. That was 2006, I believe. And here we are 18 years later, and they've built maybe 10%, no, 5% of the homes that they're entitled to build. I think they built 240 out of 1,008, if I'm not wrong. What's that, 10, 20%? 20%. So, it's not an overnight project here. And the developer, one of the developers that contacted us, indicated that, he'd build a minimum of 100 units right off the bat, affordable. You're not going to get the town to do that. You're not going to turn over 100 people clamoring to come and build mobile homes or buy land and build a mobile home. By the time, bridges put in and water is put in and roads are put in, you're talking $300,000, 150 for, Tammy said 150 for mobile home. Bridge cost, like I said, $12 to $18 million. I mean, it makes sense to put it in the hands of someone that's got the experience to develop and build and see what we want. So, that's where I'm standing, and I won't fall from that position.
Okay, Paul, you had your hand up?
Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to give you an old saying that, I've heard a lot of ifs tonight. And my father used to have a saying that if the dog hadn't stopped to shit, he'd have caught the rabbit.
My
But-
dad said the same thing. I love it. Yeah.
It was a good old saying. But other than that, I got to tell you that I think that if you stay the course you're on between OJ and Jack, I think you will win. I think there's the ability to have what Tammy wants put in those deed restrictions. Maybe there's lots that are left for people who may want to buy at a certain amount of money. And, we've been arguing, I've listened to everybody discuss things, but, it seems to me that could be put into the restrictions, deed restrictions, that there are lots that might be more affordable as well as other housing things. But I also want to leave you with a little bit of information about or concerns about the fact that what Lincoln already has on the books has not yet come to fruition. Okay, there is 1,018 units at South Peak. We know South Peak is coming in for more. We know there's a lot more property to be developed at Forest Ridge. The town has a lot of costs yet that have not yet reared their ugly head. I mean, we're going to need public works employees. We're going to need police. We're going to need fire. Who knows if the fire department may have to come full time. Solid waste, town office staff. I mean, to do what is going to be required for what's on the books already. So, we are going to need tax revenues to be able to accomplish that. And those tax revenues are not going to come from low-income housing. They're going to come from people who are buying the $2 and $3 million houses, and I just want to caution you that, don't forget about the past, because we've made a lot of commitments already. And some of those things are going to come to us and they're going to rear their ugly heads. And, I think we have to be ready for that. But I do think you can accommodate what Tammy wants as a condition of the sale. Now, do you need to make them all that way? Probably not. But I mean, maybe the developer, whoever that person is, would be willing to say, look, I'll reserve 15 lots at X amount of dollars that are, that could be developed for long-term local residential housing. So just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just.
Yep,
one
go ahead,
more
Jack.
comment. Speaking what we did when we did some development down in Massachusetts, and I know this is not Massachusetts. But we incentivize developers. By incentivizing a developer, you could only build so many units on a parcel land. Well, for the sake of argument, 20,000 square feet, you could build 10 units. We allow the developer to build 12 units on that, provided that he, she, or they would make those other 2 units affordable. So the cost for the other 10 at market rate offset the low income. So there's incentivizing, and that's working with the planning board to do something like that, depending upon the size of the lot. So that's just something that we had done in Mass.
I mean, I think we're all on the same page that the focus and goal is to provide Lincoln housing, whether it's single families, condos, duplexes,
All of the
apartments.
above.
It's all of the above,
Yeah.
but it's for the link. The question is how to do it and what's the best means of that. And I really think, and again, I think we also all agree that we don't need any more high-end $2-3 million houses. We don't need those. But I think in order to get what we want, the high-end houses are the route to get there.
That's where we disagree.
And I know we disagree on that, but I think when you start looking at what it's going to cost to cross the river with the utilities and infrastructure, and then to bury those with a road up through that area, that again, Woodstock is building those for $379,000. It's going to cost us more once we start adding in the bridge and the infrastructure. It's not affordable. It's not. It doesn't become affordable doing that. You can talk about a bunch of double wides. I'm the $150,000 house is not going to last as long as a regular built house. Now I have nothing against modular houses. I live in one. All right. 21 years I've been in one, but it wasn't a $159,000 double wide. I mean, it was, there's a reason why those are so inexpensive with, then you got to add in, your site work, your foundation, your drainage, your driveway, your garage, all of this stuff. They're not 150. They're going to be 250 up to $300,000. And again, that hasn't paid for any of the roadway or infrastructure to get up there. I just see the town stumbling and falling on its face if we get down that route and try to be our own developers. I don't think we need any more high-end houses, but I think in order to get what we want, that is the best and most efficient way to get it. And I also think that if we put again, we haven't made any decisions, but the initial proposal we got was out of the first 200 units built, 100 of them would be Lincoln housing needs. To get 100 units of housing built quick enough that we can start keeping businesses alive and getting people to move back or stay in town. I think that's a huge number. I mean, what is the current stock of housing that is full-time Lincoln residents right now? I mean, it's only a couple of hundred. We're almost, we're adding another 50% to our Lincoln housing just by this proposal where we add 100 out of the first 200. All right, we have 200, there's 3,000 taxable units in Lincoln, and we figured that 13% of people who live here. All right. If we add 100 more percentage wise, that's huge. That's huge. Anyway, that's my thought.
On that 100 Lincoln houses, the very next line said 100 high-end unrestricted houses. So not only are we going to get 100 houses for Lincoln folks, another 100 second homes and short-term rentals and whatnots, which is exactly what we don't need. And you're going to put 200 houses up there, and rule of thumb, just for argument's sake, an acre a house or unit or whatever. Don't look at me like that.
Okay. I wouldn't call
Or
that a
say
rule
half
of thumb.
acre. Say half acre. Or build a house on a half acre.
What
That's
about,
still a third of the property gone.
I guess I don't even see that being reasonable.
Oh.
I mean, first of all,
I
you're
don't
not,
want to be the developer. I don't want Lincoln to go in there and build houses. You know what I'm saying? I want Lincoln to work with a head. I want the town of Lincoln to work with, and I will never remember his name, Andrew, or anybody else like that for grants and, and whatnot. She was online.
Michelle.
North Country Council, will help facilitate any of those grants to work on anything, bridge, infrastructure, anything like that. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see another private HOA up there because Joe Blow Construction Company went and built all these roads that now have to be maintained by an HOA because they're not town roads. If we can build this bridge and build these roads and and infrastructure with a head, with grants and help from all these organizations, and have a town neighborhood, have a town road or two, and then maybe we work with someone that'll go in, a builder that'll go in and build some homes, or set up some lots for folks to have their modulars or their mobile homes or their double wides or whatever they can afford, and have a neighborhood up there and not another HOA.
Well, just because a developer builds up there and puts in the roads and the water and sewer, they would be more than happy to hand those town roads and those town that infrastructure and that road over to the town to maintain. There's no set in stone that if a developer does it, it's going to be an HOA.
But it does just hand it over to the town. That has to go to town meeting, and the voters have to vote on it.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
if there's a bunch of homes that it's a neighborhood up there, and it would go through like that. You put 100 high-end $1 million homes or whatever to offset costs up there, and the locals are going to say, no, let them pay for their own damn.
But it doesn't need to be an all or nothing. Like, I feel like this conversation focuses around all or nothing. I don't think it's an all or nothing thing. I think what it is a compromise. I think it's a give and take. I think it's, you weigh out the risk versus the reward. What are we getting in return? You can have a subset of that community be an HOA and have the $3 million, $4 million homes and have that be private. But you could have a whole 100 acres or 50 acres or whatever we decide that are the relatively low to moderate income or middle income homes that are town maintained and that are town roads. I think it's like polarized that it's got to be this or it's got to be that.
All or nothing.
It's all or nothing. And I don't think that's what it is. And I think through a charrette program and through a RFQ program where we identify in this RFQ or this RFP, these are the things we want. These are the things that are deal breakers for us. These are the things that we're looking for. I think we can accomplish everyone's goals. I don't think it has to be all or nothing. I think it can be a hybrid approach that will, one, benefit the town, but also there's got to be some skin in the game for the developer too. So
Good idea, and we should move in that direction, but I'm still okay with arguing with you too.
so
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that the town go out with an RFQ or an RFP seeking a private developer to purchase the property known as Campers World with certain restrictions and deed restrictions on the property that will satisfy the needs of the town.
Okay. I agree that we should do that. I'm not sure I agree we should do that as the next step. Do we want to go through the Plan New Hampshire for $6,500, go through the Plan New Hampshire grant process and then come out with a RFQ based on what they give us. Obviously, if we don't like what they give us or want to change a few things, we will. But I mean, at least take that into consideration and use that as a tool to put together an RFQ process.
I'll make a motion. We do that first.
The only problem with that, I've still got a motion on the
Yep, yep.
table.
No, you
The
don't.
only
'cause it
problem-
wasn't a
excuse
second.
me.
It wasn't a
Hold on,
second.
I get it, I get it.
The only problem with that, Mr. Chairman, is that time is of the waste here, and time is money, because the grant, I believe, of the 10,000 per units, the $1 million expires in September. So by the time we heard back from, the Tourette, could be in August or end of July, and we wouldn't have time to possibly.
I
get
do,
that
I do
money.
believe that you're right, that dwelling unit program is set to expire in this fall.
Would there be time to permit? Was it 100 units before September? We're
It
not
would,
even gonna own the land for 10 days.
I was gonna say, it would depend
On the
on,
development.
yeah, it would depend on, it would depend on a lot of things.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
There's a young lady sitting
Yeah,
there.
Oh,
Celeste
sorry,
wants to
Celeste.
speak, yeah.
God, let me get Celeste Buzz up there first. Go ahead, Celeste.
Okay, so hi, Celeste. So it sounds like haven't made any progress since 2 weeks ago, so that you're still trying to decide what to do. And I'm sort of hearing the same stories over and over again. And it seems as though 100 is a lot for the developer. Doesn't sound like a lot for the town, 100 units. So if somebody's building $1 million homes, they don't need 100 of them to cover the cost. So is there a number? Is there somebody that can crunch the numbers that says estimating the roads, the bridge, so on and so forth? Somebody's going to need to build so many $1 million houses in order to cover the cost. So this person is making their money, right? So you have better idea of how many units you might need to cover the cost of these other things instead of just kind of throwing numbers out right now. It seems like I would like to hear some more solid information about some costs and how usable is the bridge right now? So can people go over the bridge, or is it closed and hazardous? Is it just kind
Not
of shut
vehicles.
down?
You
No
can-
vehicles.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
walked across it.
So
And they
Well,
do snowmobiles
The
across.
snowmobile groomer goes over that. and
Yeah.
It's heavier than my car.
Does-
But it's a 1-lane bridge. So it's not the sturdiness of it. It's the
width of it.
right. It doesn't meet,
Yeah,
it
right.
could never be a town road, and we wouldn't, if it was a private developer going in there, that bridge would not meet the requirement for
Sure.
any
A big truck. Yeah,
a condo
absolutely.
association.
Yeah, right.
I can't stand the idea of that there would be more condos. Like, I think the last thing Lincoln needs beyond the $1 million homes is more condos. So I would that's a total turnoff. But I just was at Burke ski and went mountain biking this weekend. It's $20 a person to go and mountain bike, and it took them 30 years to develop these trails. They have 21,000 plus people that have memberships there. So at $20 a person, or $120 for a membership, or $200 for a family membership, I think there's other ways for the town to be serving a purpose for the community with this land. So it doesn't only have to be houses. So with their memberships, my low estimate is that was $500,000 that they made on their trail system. And the trails are all private land. So they have a board of directors that also has to manage the private landowners. I think Lincoln's in this really good position where you could be turning it into a town forest with trails for adaptive programs, skiing, mountain biking, hiking. I don't think anybody owns a horse around here, but you could have trail riding. So I think there's more to do with the land and make some money on it as well as housing. So it's a selling point, but you can also eventually start building trails, making them worthwhile and making it a destination. So, I mean, I was there was people from New York, Canada, Maine, so on and so forth. So I think there's another opportunity for this land.
I think through the charrette program,
Yes,
right,
agreed.
they
Yeah.
are going to take into
That needs to
consideration
be our next step.
land conservation, recreation.
Right.
Yes.
All, they're not just looking at housing. They're
Right.
going to sit for 2 days and they're going to hear from everybody in the room. Like OJ said, business owners, community representatives, residents, everyone. And they're going to take everyone's input and they're going to organize it. And they're going to say, this is what we heard. We heard housing. We heard
Mhm.
recreation. We heard trails. We heard this. We heard
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Let's look at this parcel of land and try to lay it out where we can get, like I said, a little bit of everything for everyone.
So it sounds like that's the place to go, is to start laying out where the
Yeah.
houses are going to go. Where are these trails? Where is there parking for trails?
Sure.
I mean, it grew, Burke really grew. I mean, they have shower rooms, they have bathrooms, more restaurants popped up because of this. There are campgrounds now. They have mountain biking camps. So, and the adoptive program is huge there. They have trails wide enough for hand cycles and so on and so forth. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to respond to a couple of things. First of all, I think, I understand maybe your thoughts on condos, but I think there's a lot of permanent residents in this town who live at Mansion Hill, Riverfront, Lincoln Station, Forest Ridge, et cetera. They're permanent residents. And I think that is in my mind, a key way for people who don't either want to live in and maintain their own single family home or can't afford to purchase and live in their single family home. They still own real estate and live in it permanently. So I think condos are an important part of this. Now, the what I'm calling the Lincoln people's condos are going to be deed restricted against short-term rental. So you can't buy it just to rent it out, but you can buy a condo to live in and you own the real estate, as opposed to being forced to either you have to take the big step up to get a single family home or step down and pay rent for the rest of your life and not own any real estate. I think it's a pretty key component for workforce housing people to have the option to own a condo.
OJ?
No,
The
there's,
question
there's,
was, are there any families and stuff in condos? Sorry, because you're not at the microphone.
yeah,
Are there any families and such in condo? Are they more single?
I would say that currently in town, there's a mix. There's families that live in condos, there's single people, there's retired couples.
I would
But
agree.
I think a condo is a starter home for most small families, young
Yeah.
families,
Yeah.
where it's a step to get them in this community, yet they can't afford a $400,000-$500,000 home, because we also have to be realistic about what the median price of a home in New Hampshire is right now. The homes aren't selling for $150,000, $200,000. A low priced home in any community is a home under $400,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to be realistic about what is a low income, what's considered low income, or what's
Right.
considered a realistic sale price on things.
Right.
And so let's, we don't have to call them condos. We can call them townhomes.
Yes.
But I think there has to be a mix. And I think, my opinion
In
is,
Forest Ridge, that's what it was, a town, not a condo.
so the second thing is that if we're looking at making these affordable to the Lincoln workforce, that this idea of a half acre for a single family house is going to put that
Way up.
way out of line. I mean, if you look at the downtown, pick any 200 houses downtown,
It's a
and
10
180 of them don't have a half an acre. We're not going to make the most affordable lots in the town of Lincoln, the biggest lots in Lincoln. Those two things, those don't go together. We have to make a decision. Do we want half acre lots and charge what they're going to cost? Or do we want to allow people to build single family homes in cluster developments or closer areas where they're not going to have a half an acre each? If you build a cluster development where you take, a
Like Pleasant
piece of,
Street or School Street or Maple Street or
well,
Church.
still those are all individually owned. A
Right,
cluster
right.
development would be, you have whatever, 4 acres, but instead of putting on 8 houses with a half an acre, you put on you know,
16 with a quarter.
12 or 16 houses.
For the quarter.
And, you know, you can design them so that they're not, you know, looking into each other. You build them on a curve. And anyway, you could put more houses and
Yeah.
allow people maybe that in between step between it's certainly better than a condo
Yeah.
because those people aren't on the other side of this 2x6
But
wall,
more affordable.
but they're not a half an acre surrounding that house either. So I think there's got to be some reality in how we're going to make these affordable. And I think that condos and cluster housing is one of the ways to do that.
Jose?
And for that, I had one other thing I wanted to react to, and I forget what it was. But go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. Would this property be considered a planned phase development? And would the town be able to use innovative land use controls in some sort of fashion to be able to build it for the future?
That hasn't been determined yet.
Well, that's not true, but I mean, it's determined by what's going to go there and how it's.
We don't know that yet. Exactly.
I mean, I don't know what's going to come of whatever RFQs we put out, but I can't see someone putting 300 units of housing in there, all in one swoop. I would expect that there'd be some sort of master plan,
I would agree with
Correct.
that.
and
That's-
then come in and,
that's-
okay, we're gonna build this single family 15 lot development first, and then we're gonna build this 20 unit condo, and then we're gonna have a 18 unit apartment building. I mean, that's kind of how I would expect it to go, but it's gonna
So-
really come about with the RFQ process.
Right, so I guess my question is, so if the planning board, excuse me, if the Board of Selectmen decides to do this with conditions on the sale, does that then circumvent the planning board's ability to deal with this as a land use issue? Or to impose the town's land use plan ordinance upon it? I mean, how does that work?
I guess I'm not sure, never done it before.
Yeah, me neither, that's why.
That's the real answer for me. But I don't think we would have the legal right to circumvent the planning board. We have the right to put deed restrictions on the land in the transfer.
So if there was a developer agreement, couldn't that be done as a planned phase development so that
It could be.
then each phase of it could come in and subsequently be relooked at and vetted, and if you know things needed to be changed, it could be based on the ability, you know, I mean, whatever people wanted at that time. I mean, it just seems like that might help, is what I'm saying. Between that and innovative land use controls, I mean, we gotta talk to Jason at some time. I mean, but you know, innovative land use controls offer a lot of flexibility to a town to be able to change development, control it, and make it more palatable to the town. So, I mean, the planning board has, I guess I'm just looking at how that tier works. Is it just all what the planning, what the Board of Selectmen say, excuse me, or is it, you know, I mean, to me, I'm a little confused about how that's gonna work, I guess.
I am too. I
Yeah, I
am
mean,
too. I mean, to be
If the
honest,
Board of
like,
Selectmen says one thing, and then the planning board says, hey, or people come in and say, hey, we don't want this, and the planning board goes, whoa, wait a minute, the Board of Selectmen said this, and now all these people come in. How does all that work? I'm a little confused about that.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like innovative land use controls. Let's say the town works out a development agreement and says, okay, instead of building each house on a 15,000 square foot lot, you can now take this 4 acre parcel and build 16 houses.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay. If that then goes, that's going to be 16 Lincoln units. Now, if that goes before the planning board and you guys say, nope, 8 units, no different. The 8 units that gets lost, does that count against our 100 units? Like they were gonna build these 8 units, but
Right.
you guys said no? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question maybe you might want to dive into with Jason or somebody first and see how that might work, just while
I
you're
don't know.
doing it, you know what I mean? Just ask that question and it might just be worth a little bit of time to investigate that. So,
I also think that that's much further down the road.
It's much further down the road.
well, it is,
It's-
it is, but I mean, you have to know where you're going and what you're gonna be able to do before you decide to where you want to end up, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, decide what your restrictions are or could possibly be. And
Well,
mean-
again, I think the charrette, Plan New Hampshire charrette for $6,500, I do know that it's gonna mess up a time schedule, but I'm not sure if we sell the land on July 28th, that we can go through an RFQ process and then have a developer come in with a plan that's ready to go to a grant and
And
be,
have them permitted.
it'd have to be permitted before
Yeah,
before the application or before the grant?
before September 30th.
Yep, have to be permitted.
They would have to be permitted units.
Right.
Before we even apply?
Permit, no, it says permits must have been applied for. So I don't know if they have to be applied for, if they have to
Applied
be
for.
issued. I don't know. We
what
would
kind
need
of permits are you talking
clarification.
about, Corinne?
Land
Permits?
land use permits, yes.
Yeah, that's so here you go. I mean, the whole thing then becomes an issue for the planning board to have a meeting and discuss and have public hearing and take public comment. And I mean, if I was the developer, I would kind of want to know what I could put there and what the restrictions might be. And even though the Board of Selectmen said that, I don't know, is that binding or is what the planning board said binding? Based on the land use ordinances within the town. So, I mean, and like I said, I'm confused about it and that's why I'm asking the question and talking to you, so.
Yeah, I think when we establish a baseline for what we're looking for, then we can get into the specifics of how we legally can do those things.
Yeah.
But we first need to establish that baseline of this is what we want to do, this is what we're thinking of, this is what we may want to have it, whether it's a planned use development or innovative land uses. I think you got to have a baseline for us to then go get legal advice on how we actually make
Right,
that
but it
fruition.
depends on whether it's a cluster development, plan phase development, depends on whether it's individual housing lots. It depends. So a lot of that, based on what the taxpayers in town have voted on, I don't know how all that intermeshes with what the board of selectmen want and things like that, I guess. That's my question.
Well, I think that's the point of going through the planning
Right.
process.
Yeah.
The
We don't
charrette-
need to answer that right now. Yeah.
I don't think we have the
All right.
answer. What
All
can we
right.
allow? What can we not allow?
Right.
Who takes precedent? We don't know the answers to those questions right now. I mean, obviously, before the town can sell any land, that application needs to go in front of the planning board and the planning board needs to make recommendations when
Right.
we have
That's-
public
that's-
hearings.
Right.
Public
So,
hearing.
Right.
So we know that has to happen.
And the
Um,
board of selectmen has to do that. You guys have to have 2 public hearings before you.
Right.
transfer it,
Right.
Right. So
Yep.
we know that we have to go through those technical motions. But I don't think we're going to have all these legal kind of questions answered until we can have a more defined question, I guess.
All right. Well, like I said, it's confusing, but thank you for.
All right.
your help.
The other
Go ahead.
thing I wanted to mention is when we looked at the one proposal that we received, 200 units, of the first 200 units, 100 is the town, 100 is whatever they want to build. In addition to that, in the proposal, the town is going to, at least they're proposing to grant us 20 acres, not necessarily in one lump, but 20 acres of land, maybe in 2 parcels or 3 parcels, whatever, for the town to develop. If we got ahead to do, say, one of their, let's say they did the project they did over there, 29 units on 4 acres. Let's say we could do 5 of those projects. There's another 100 units. So we could theoretically, using the land that we're giving and the 100 units that the developer has to build, we could get 200 units of housing in the first swoop. The first phase of this.
Mhm.
So again, it's not just 100. It's 100 plus the land that we can do something with on our own. And I think there's some big possibilities on that. And again, it was just a proposal. We haven't agreed to any of it. But the proposal was for 20 acres in one or more parcels.
And again, very conceptual, right? It was just a concept, but they also were committing themselves to giving more housing after that. It was a
Right,
50-50
right.
split in the first
In the
phase,
first 100,
but then it was
200,
going to be a
25% of the second 100.
right. And
And
then
then beyond that, it was
10% or
10%,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't the 100 was just right off the bat. It
Correct.
wasn't the end all be all of the
Right,
proposal.
right. And again, I'm looking at that first, I don't even want to call it the phase, but the first breakdown is 200 units, 100 for the town, and then our 20 acres, which could be another 100 units. So, I mean, there's more than just the 100 units out of the first 200 that the town would get, because we could partner with a head and stuff for our 20 acres. So just to point that out.
I'd like to point out too, that's just one proposal. We may put
Right.
an RFP or an RFQ out there and get nobody to respond. Then the town owns the land, and then, it's up to the town to make a decision what to do with the land.
So
I will make a motion that we participate in the community design charrette program.
What?
Charrette.
did they give us any idea? I thought I wrote this down, but I didn't see it. I just wrote down some of the terms, but not the timeline. If we applied for this Plan New Hampshire grant, do you know how, could this happen this summer?
I think so. I mean, they take applications on a rolling basis, and
Okay.
obviously it's kind of a first come, first serve. So I don't know where we would be in the queue, but I do think that they would be interested because this is such a probably a much larger scale project. I imagine they would be interested in trying to, participate in this project. I mean, I can give them a call tomorrow and
The
start
fee
finding.
is not required on or before the first day of the charrette.
Mhm.
So we can apply for this, zero money.
Correct.
Mhm.
And if they come back and says, yeah, we'll do it, it'll be next year in November, we can then decide, well, maybe we don't want to
Maybe we
wait.
don't want to wait.
But if they say, yeah, we can do this in August,
We have to pay the first 6,500.
It's the total cost is
the total cost is
6,500.
6,500.
6,500.
Yeah.
right. Then you hope you get a return on that in the form of consulting services.
Correct.
No
Mhm.
guarantee.
Well, they estimate it between 30 and 80,000,
25 and 80.
25
Yeah,
and
but there's no
80,000.
guarantee
There's
you're
no
gonna
guarantee.
get that. It's on a competitive basis for the consulting, I believe. That's the way I read it anyway.
But this is their proposal to us, correct?
This is their grant program overview.
Oh, gotcha. That's what you were looking for.
Okay. They recommend at least 10 to 12 weeks for the community to prepare.
Remind me again, what are you looking to get from them? Like it's basically an inventory of what you could do with the land?
They come in and do a 2-day planning process where they bring in experts.
Read that. That's an awesome overview.
All right, depending on the project, you will receive between $25,000 and $80,000 worth of consulting services. We will provide a fresh, objective look at your challenge and at your community. It provides a great opportunity to bring community members together in a facilitated dialogue. The recommendations that we provide will reflect the current ideas and practices in disciplines such as planning, engineering, architecture, landscape architecture, economics, historic preservations, and more, as well as the values, dreams, and needs of the community. We will also provide you with a report that captures the highlights of the charrette and the recommendations we have prepared with graphics and other visuals as applicable.
Yeah.
You have a backup plan if this doesn't work.
Well, I mean,
They don't accept this project. You mentioned that they did.
No, then we would.
Back to
we
the
were back
drawing
at-
board.
Or
back to-
time frame, they don't meet your time frame, if they can't do it till.
this is
Then we're
saying,
back at the drawing
yeah,
board.
10 to 12 weeks, but if they can't pull this together, yeah, we're back to right where we are now and we make an alternative decision.
We don't have any experience in putting a plan like this together.
Right, we need this.
We need this
Yeah.
to be able to, one, either decide, are there aspects of this we can do ourselves? Or two, do we need to work with someone who has expertise in this field? I mean, I think if the town were going to try to do this, or the selectmen and myself were going to try to replicate this on our own, it would be a huge undertaking. And we
Mm.
don't have the experience.
I mean, I don't have the skills to
No.
No.
facilitate something like this. I'm
No.
not even sure I can envision how it's going to work, but they're, talking with Andrew, they've done this in other.
They have examples. If you
Communities.
go on the website, the Plan New Hampshire website, they have examples of what they've done for other communities and the reports that they produce, and they have some really great examples. So I would encourage anyone to, if they're more interested and learn more about the program, to go on the Plan New Hampshire website and look at some of their most recent applications.
Yeah.
So I still have that motion on the floor to go out to create an RFQ or an RFP to get a private developer. At that point in time, if we get the different developers to submit, we can look at their plans, and we could apply simultaneously for Charette to evaluate the plans that we get to help us possibly make a decision. So we've got experienced people looking at plans coming in from potential developers in the town. So I think it's a win-win situation for us because we're moving along, and possibly, with that timeline of getting potential $1 million, not that money talks all the time, but it's something to think about and offset some costs.
I agree with you in theory. But honestly, if we agree to this tonight, to your proposal tonight, if we get an RFQ put together, which I think would take some real thought and time to do, then send it out, then allow people to have time to come back, that there is not going to be any developer who is going to be ready by September, having already, first of all, we need 2 hearings to sell the land to them.
Right.
Then we need to actually go through the sale. Then they need to come into the planning board with a plan that they get approved and have something ready that they can get permitted before September.
Well, no, that's a very quick time frame. I understand that. By the same token, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were told that this grants situation from the state would be continued for the next funding cycle also.
At I believe you're correct, but at a far reduced rate,
Right,
like
another
rather than the
round.
amount of money that I
Yeah.
think they had 10 million or 100 million is this
Yeah.
last round of funding. They're only going to have 10 million this time or
Right,
something
right.
along those
I
lines.
agree. Yeah.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think
They
he
had
said the
100
funding level was going to be
100 million in this round that we're in. 60 million of that was already obligated. So they had 40 million left in the pot.
Right.
Mr. Dorsett indicated he thought that there would be additional funding to carry this.
yes, but I
plan
think he
There's
said it
another
was gonna
round.
to
be-
encourage
Yeah.
the development.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, what I'm trying to do is move this off the dime. We can have hearing after hearing after hearing. Let's take some positive action and get something done.
I think the charrette and getting experts to come in and help us put together a higher quality RFQ
Agreed.
would be the better direction to go in. And if we give Karina authorization tonight to
Apply for it.
put the application and we don't actually have to spend the money until they actually start it. We can see what they say. We can see, if they look at this and say, oh, this is crazy. This is, way too big of a project. No. Or if they say, yeah, we can do it, but because of the size of it, it's going to take more than the 10 to 12 weeks. We can look at their reaction to it, but I think it'd be worth getting, again, because I haven't been through it and I would know nothing about putting, I'd have limited knowledge about putting the RFQ together. I think this would be helpful as far as even doing that.
Did we have, I pointed out to you, I believe, a couple communities that have just recently done RFQs or RFPs in regards to town land, Lebanon.
Yeah, I
Mhm,
reached out
we
to
do.
them and I provided you all copies of their RFPs. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
So we're
It's-
not reinventing the wheel here.
No, but I think what we want but I think what we want to have established in that RFQ or RFP is what our goals and objectives are for the land. And I think that is going to take us some time to vet, and it might be easier to vet it through the charrette program with professionals in the field than it is us just kind of hashing it out amongst ourselves. I just think it would be, as much as I want to get on board, Jack, and just say, let's get an RFQ out there and let's just see what we get. I think we'll get better results by going through this process. Or at least we'll be more secure in what we are asking for in the RFP or the RFQ. But I think the first step is applying and seeing if they can even
If
meet,
they can even do
if
it.
they can even do it, if they're even interested, if they even can provide us it in a timely fashion. They might come back and say, we've already have all our projects for this year. You guys will be the first one in 25. And then we would have to come back and say, maybe we
look at
do
it.
have to do this RFP
Right.
on our own. Maybe we hire North Country Council or regional planning commission to help us
Or maybe we
navigate
decide
through
to wait.
this. Or
Either
maybe
way,
we decide to wait.
whatever.
Yeah. But I think the first step is just seeing if this is even a possibility for us.
My preference is to do that as a first step. In 2 weeks, you should have some sort of response from them.
I would
Well, it
hope
depends on
so.
depends on how long it takes you to put this application together.
I reviewed it and I mean,
3 to 5 pages.
It's going to be a while.
well,
So-
yeah.
So by the time you get it together, they may not have a time to respond in 2 weeks, but certainly in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think.
And I guess I think it's worth the wait in the $6,500 to get some feedback on this.
I agree.
I'd like to wait and do that. So
So you'll
so
second my motion?
wait, no,
No,
Jack has a motion on the floor.
no, he doesn't. It didn't get a second.
I'm waiting for a second. There's no second. All right.
Okay.
Then I'll make the motion that we authorize Karina to move forward.
Tammy already
I
made
already
it.
made it. You just need to second it.
What was your motion exactly?
My motion is that we have Karina
Apply for the
apply
grant.
for the grant.
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
That was unanimous.
Perfect. You worked
Alright.
hard for that one, didn't you? Holy cow.
We're not all going to agree on the steps going forward, but I think it's important to keep going
Absolutely.
forward and making,
And that's what I love about this board. We can not agree and whatever
And
and
still-
argue back and forth
Yeah.
and still
How do you know?
say, I hope you have a great week. You know what I mean?
it is good.
I like
All right. With that, we've had everything on our agenda. We have a legal issue to discuss.
We have
in
a-
non-public. We have another legal issue to discuss in non-public and a personnel issue to discuss in non-public. So
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we go into non-public for those 3 issues.
Second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yes. Randy, you're a J two, right?